Bonsoir. Bienvenue encore une fois dans
Good evening, welcome to this magnificent theatre. And the Théâtre du Nord is a place where you feel comfortable. Thanks for this meeting, absolutely exceptional, with a tremendous actor. Indeed, Charlotte. I'll immediately introduce Charlotte Bloom, that you know well. She's a director for TV. What's the name? Cercle Série, which is a broadcast of French TV. And she's the designer of the magnificent exhibition we have at the Village du Tripostal here in Lille about...
Ah, ben voilà.
Ah, here. About what is happening with the series during the shooting of the series. She worked a lot. She did work a lot. She said never, ever more. And she said she successfully found incredible things. The creators of the language of the Game of Swords who came. It's extraordinary. Jenny Spoons, who is the top, how should I say in French? Culinary stylist, how you eat living rats. How you eat your iPhone. Well, you know, sometimes you feel like throwing it away. No, she eats her iPhone. So it's thanks to Charlotte. She has all the skills. She will have, she'll be moderating this session with Peter Mullan. Back to Peter Mullan. Peter Mullan is, as you know, is one of those actors, English style. You start with theatre at the Scottish Royal Academy. You're trained for theatre. And a theatrical actor, you recognize him everywhere. He has a special way of acting. He acted a lot. He played a lot for cinema. His first award, his first movie is Shell Grave. It's his interpretation for My Name is Joe, with Ken Loach directing. Then he will direct himself, and you'll see, he'll talk a lot about it. Something remaining. He has, as a director, the awards are raining upon him. For the Magdalene Sisters, it's a marvel. He gets the Golden Lion of Venice. It's someone who already has all those skills, talents, and then he gets into the series. That's fantastic. Top of the Lake. Yeah. He's in Top of the Lake. I have to read my notes. He played in the Lord of the Rings, and he has a fantastic talent. He has something that I will add here. We like characters like that. He's someone who's engaged in his movies. He's engaged, committed. He has opinions. He's opinionated. He took part in demonstrations against the expulsion of the asylum seekers in 2005. There was a violent policy in the UK. He is a committed, engaged actor. He's here with us at the festival to present a series that I really advise you to see. I say that I don't know if there are still enough seats, but you know there's still seats. It's After the Party, and his role in After the Party with Robin Malcolm is exceptional. It's all the facets of his art. You'll see this dubious characters, how he will see how he's attaching dubious. He's exceptional. It's in the series Panorama. Thank you for welcoming warmly Peter Mullan.
I had to take photographs for my children. They don't realize I'm a fucking big shot. I need proof.
So we have our first fuck already.
Oh, sorry.
We have our first fuck already.
Oh, already? I know. I get it in quick. Years ago, I was in Rome, and for some reason, I was being recognized quite a bit. And so all these people were asking for photographs. It was before the smartphones. And so I was doing this, you know, and I walked past a young couple, and they said, "Oh, pardon, photo." And I literally stood up and went, "Yes, sure." And this kid came over and handed me the camera. It was, I've never been as mortified in my entire life. He handed me the camera, and the two of them stood looking at me like, why did this prick think that we wanted a photograph? Oh, Jesus. Anyway. So my children never believe that I'm big in Europe.
Let's prove them.
Yes, let's prove them wrong.
Maybe we could start by a very general, simple but not so much question, which is how did you fall in love with stories and furthermore with storytelling?
Do you mean as an actor or as
a human being?
Oh, as a, oh. Profound. Profound. I don't know. Telling lies, I guess. Realizing that telling lies could work. I remember when I was at primary school, I remember I wrote a story and the teacher read my story to the class. And I was so chuffed at that. I was chuffed. Do you know what chuffed means?
Like
happy.
Happy.
Happy. It's a Scots word for happy. And I was so delighted. And I remember the girls in the class, I'd written something about rats crawling up a wall. And the girls went, ooh. And I loved that. I was so, the fact that it had an impact on the girls was really, really cool, you know.
Seduction
so
weapon.
That's my love of story.
Love for women.
Yes.
Okay. So you're both an actor and a director, and we're going to talk about both of these jobs that you do. And I would like you, let's stay profound. Can you talk to me about those two jobs, but with an emotional point of view?
An emotional point of view from directing and acting? There's such different kind of experiences. Like you get asked quite often, which do you prefer? Do you prefer acting or directing? And the only way I can really answer it is that acting is the sex and directing's bringing up baby. Because it's such a level of responsibility that you don't have when you're an actor. You just fuck about as an actor. It's not two facts. It's not. It's wonderful. It's a game. It's play. But it's not something to be taken too seriously. In all seriousness, one shouldn't take it too seriously. Directing's different because you're bringing up baby. Directing, you're responsible for everyone. And if the film does well, then your baby's grown up and it's out there and everybody's happy. If your film doesn't do so well, it hurts. It really hurts. Whereas as an actor, you don't really give a fuck, if I'm being honest. You really don't. Three. I mean, you do, but you don't really, because it's not yours. It's someone else's. You do your best, and you commit. I mean, I'm very committed in that respect. I don't work for. I'm not interested in money or prestige or power. I've always just really enjoyed it as an art form. And I do genuinely believe that the film, television, art, theatre, that I genuinely believe it can change things. I believe it can have an impact on the world and on the way people see the world. So it's not like I'm not committed, but when you hear someone talking about their character, you know, I do reach for my gun, you know, because it can be painful listening to an actor wank off about that stuff. It's kind of hard, you know. Does that count? Does wank count as a swear? I guess it does. Guess it does.
Can I ask someone to keep the fuck account? Because I can't do it, I need to concentrate. Is someone volunteering for this? You. Yes, because I know you, so you count. 3 for the moment. Thank you. I have to work. Okay.
The BBC used to keep a swear count of every show that you did, yeah. I did one, and the director said to me I had a line, and the line was I'm in love with this guy, and I'm jealous of his girlfriend. And the line was, I had to say to him, did you get a wank? And the director came up and he said, oh, God, you've used up all the sweary words from the day before, so can you just think it, don't say it? And I thought, okay, and we did it. And my friend was the editor, and he phoned up the BBC in London, and he said, hi, just to ask you a question, am I right in thinking we're allowed to say 6 bastards, 8 fucks, and no cunts? And she said, yes, you're allowed 6 bastards, 8 fucks, no cunts. And he said, well, there's a line Peter's got. He says, did you get a wank? And he wants to know, director wants to know, can we have a wank? And she said, oh dear, you can have many wanks as you want. Just remember, it's 6 fucks, 6 bastards, 8 fucks, and no cunts. There you go. How much, did you count how many? You counted. Right, let's get profound, let's get serious.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes. And I'm delighted that you don't like to hear actors talking about their roles, because that's exactly what I'm going to ask you right now. So first we're going to watch a clip. We're going to watch a clip from My Name is Joe, and then we'll talk about it, and you have a screen here.
Okay, all right.
There's a girl I used to drink with. Rona. We lived together, so on and off. In my mind, I loved her. In her mind, she loved me. That's where it stopped. We were both just tangled up, clinging on like grim death. Anyway, we used to have these really terrible arguments. I mean, always. Really fierce. We used to tear each other apart. But it was never physical.
So maybe I could add one, and this is fucking powerful. I wanted to talk about vulnerability when you play. I'd like to understand where an actor finds this kind of vulnerability and being completely honest, I want to say. Where does it come from? How do you prepare to that?
For something like that, all credit goes to Ken Loach. Ken, I mean, I've not seen that since 1998. Ken, the scene, the flashback, he shot that on the very first day of filming. Ken shoots in chronological order. So we shot a scene that wasn't in the script. He wanted me and my beautiful actress who played my wife or girlfriend, he wanted us to experience it before talking about it. And there's very few directors in the world that will get the money, the finance, the crew to go to a beach and shoot, because none of it's in the film. And film an entire, we shot all day long. We improvised, we played about, and then we arrived back and that scene happened. And that scene's all improvised. That was all, if you want to say, that was all me. but it wasn't me, obviously. He'd created the environment for an actor to explore this very dark alcoholic. But given that, I don't know how much you guys know about the way Ken Loach works. Ken, you only get 3 days worth of script. You don't get the full script. His philosophy as the actor only knows as much as the character would know. So he shoots in sequence, and every 4th day you get the surprise of the next 4 days worth of scenes. He cheated a bit in My Name is Joe because he realized that the actor, Mullen, couldn't pitch his performance without knowing the bigger journey. So Ken cheated. I think it's the only time he's ever done that. Because if an actor didn't know what's ahead of them, you might peak too early. So you might get too angry too soon, too sad too soon, whatever. But what was remarkable was as we were shooting, I didn't know that scene wasn't in the script. I thought that was in the script. I only found out later that he'd created an entire scene that's not in the script. So for a scene like that, when you're talking about something that you've actually experienced, the strange thing about the way Ken works is you don't rehearse, so you start acting as soon as you arrive on set. No one on set is allowed to look at you. So you're like an Egyptian god because you walk around and the entire crew have to look away. There's no eye contact. Ken Loach doesn't look at you. He has his eyes down here and he covers them. Which, if you don't know how Ken works, you think you're the worst actor on the planet. You know, because you're acting your socks off and you've got a director who's turning away. It's like, Jesus, am I so bad you can't even look at me? But all of that is Ken's philosophy of, if you like, the invisible camera. So with all those elements, to do a scene like that, I mean, that you would regard as a kind of distilled naturalism, a hyper-naturalism, if you like. It looks improvised. And the truth is, it is improvised. You do start off by using the language that you think the character would use. What Ken does very cleverly is as you shoot about that scene, like all scenes with Ken, you do about 32 takes, but it never gets boring, ever, because he's always changing it. He's always bringing in another element. So for something like that scene, Ken would introduce lines from the script and would say, oh, I really like that line and this line. Did you like that line? Everything with Ken's a kind of open-endedness. Like nobody says action on a Ken Loach set. Ken says, you end board everything. So Ken says, in your own time or when you're ready. So straight away the actor is empowered to feel like this is you. This belongs to you. The weird thing when you're acting is you're never sure. You're often never sure how far you can take something because you don't know if a director likes it or not. So when a director gives you complete power, you're unbelievably relaxed. Most acting that you see, if you don't like it, 9 times out of 10, the actor didn't feel confident or felt unloved. And the way they defend themselves when they're unloved, or they feel they're unloved, or unwanted even, is they'll put various masks on. So you don't get the kind of truth that you, the audience, is looking for. And in the modern era, we're obsessed with distilled naturalism. We see that as the kind of highest form of acting. And it's not. It's just, as Nicolas Cage was saying recently, about his aunt told him just after she did The Godfather. Naturalism's just a style. It has no right to just be the only way of acting. I mean, one of my favourite actors was Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson was never naturalistic. He's more operatic, but it doesn't stop me loving what he does. Anthony Hopkins, and I'm sure Tony would hate me for saying this, I've never thought of Tony Hopkins as a naturalistic actor, but I could watch him all day long. So it's not, that style of acting, that Ken Loachian distilled naturalism, is created by him. It would be a mistake to suggest that the actor, me, I'm not saying shouldn't get credit for it. Obviously, the actor brings elements to it. But more than anything, the actor has been given all the tools. That's confidence, ease, and inventiveness that Ken brings to it. Ken Loach is the greatest director with supporting actors I've ever seen, ever. Because he makes it real for supporting actors. Now, that may not sound particularly important, but if you're a filmmaker, it's really important. You don't want anybody on set to feel artificial or lacking in confidence. You want everybody to be alive. Oftentimes you walk onto a set. I've walked on sets and you've got so much life, you know, in a bar scene. And everybody's talking and you just think, turn over, just film this. And the way film works, an assistant director just shouts, quiet, shut up, everybody on set, be quiet. So all this life just disappears. And he says, this is Peter, he's going to be acting with so-and-so, and da-da-da-da-da, and I want everybody to be quiet while they're rehearsing, and then we'll turn over, and when I give you the word, act natural. and honestly, I've lost count how many times that happens, and you're stood there kind of going, Jesus, are you... And that's the norm. To this day, in Cannes, Martin Scorsese, I'm going to drop some names now. My pal Marty, who was the head of the jury in Cannes, so he gave me my gong, my prize, and I get talking to him. And Scorsese, and he really meant it. He said to me about Ken Loach, how does he do it? How does he do it? Because any filmmaker knows that type of naturalism is really hard to achieve because of the beast that is film. It's not necessarily that actors can't do it. It's because actors don't get the power to do it. Sorry, that's the wrong word. They don't get the license to do it. And I told them about Ken not watching the action. Because Ken not watching is the realization that acting is not about facial expressions. It's not what you do, or don't do with your face. It's truth from here. And that comes through here. So Ken would say he's happy with the scene if he heard it. And Marty, my pal Marty, I can call him Marty. You call him Mr. Scorsese, I call him Marty. Marty he said, God, I remember it in Mean Streets. He had to direct a scene in a bar, the famous Mook scene. And he said, we had no monitor, so I had to hide behind the bar. So I could only hear them fighting and De Niro improvising. I could only hear it. And he said, and I knew when it worked and when it didn't. He said he realized. He said I used to do that. I used to direct with my ear. And what you find about why Ken, especially Ken Loach, is very much the director's director, is he's kept it up his entire life. Most directors lose it because the machine, the orthodoxy of filmmaking wins. Because there's money involved, there's time involved. But Ken, in that respect, he more than anyone, Cillian Murphy was talking about it recently. Cillian changed his entire acting life after he worked on The Wind That Shakes the Barley, because he spent 10 weeks with Ken Loach.
Hail to Ken Loach.
Man.
I wanted to ask you a question about this character, but when we see all the characters you've played, we could ask it for many of them. Do you ever wonder what they've become? Do they stay in you? Do you think about them?
No.
Ever?
No.
None of them?
No. It's the great thing with acting, like any form of play, is it's fun when you're playing. It's not fun afterwards. It's just not. I mean, a footballer can relive the moment they score the goal, but it's not as much fun as scoring the goal. And it's the same with acting. You know, you can relive it if you want. I mean, you can sit and watch yourself all day long if you want. I've worked with actors that would do that. I mean, Kevin Spacey would watch himself all day long. You know, he never fucking stops. Man's an arsehole. You would no sooner finish a scene with him, and he would run to the monitor to watch playback. And I used to wonder, why are you doing that? Like, he would barely finish. They would barely shout cut, and he would run. And it took me a while to realize it's because you want to know if the cheat has worked. Because he was so fake. Everything about him was fake. So he can play fake, because he is fake. But when you watched him, because I learned a lot from watching him. I didn't like him at all. He was
We understood that.
You got that. And he got it as well. No, I didn't like him at all. Horrible human being. But fascinating to watch, because he was so mannered. It was like working with Bette Davis, you know. And everybody at the time, myself included, were all kind of, oh, he's a great actor. But when you were actually acting with him, it was ham. Absolute ham. But there's a place for ham. You know, I mean, you watch The Usual Suspects. It's outrageous. I mean, he's a fucking ham. But personally, I don't care. I do rate it as a performance. It's when he tries to act human, he struggles. And you'll find that with some actors have gone through such a process of becoming a star, they can't act human. It's a big call for them. They struggle. And it's because they spend so much time in the gymnasium, so much time with their management, so much time on their careers. And that's fine. I mean, I get that. But they can't act human anymore. It's a real stretch. What you often find with young American actors and especially older American actors, they can't do humility. They can't do it. They can do humility if they're being bullied and then they get to bring out a gun and shoot the guy in the head. That they can do, because there's payback for making me feel humble. I'll shoot you. And that they can do, but they can't play it. It's like when you watch a lot of American actors now, and was always the case, when they improvise, they think improvising is to talk all the time. And it's to be silent is like, whoa, you'll never get noticed if you're silent, unless you're playing a deaf mute. You know, it's transactional. There was a director who worked with an Oscar-winning actress who I know recently, and she was saying, this is a business. And it was interesting. I mean, I can't think of anyone that would describe themselves not as a human being. This is a business, this face. Because the actress wanted a crying scene. And the director said, no, I don't think she would cry. And she said, this is a fucking business. So I cry, I get a prize. And to be honest, she's probably correct. You know, I mean, I've worked with umpteen actors. You see it. You know when it's Oscar bait. You know, and again, I get it. I completely understand it. It's like, yeah, they want an Oscar. Why? Who knows? Good luck to them. But you know, why not? You know, I mean, I can't watch the Oscars anymore because it feels so undignified. It's a prize giving, for God's sakes. It's a prize giving. That's all it is. But they've now tried to raise it to the level of what? What are they trying to raise it to? It's a prize giving, and usually it's kind of meaningless. But you see it more and more in their work. You know, more and more performances that they're always looking for give me the prize, as opposed to in the moment. And so thus we get all those terrible films when nobody wants to be disliked. You know, you gotta love me, love me, love me, love me. Because if you love me, you'll give me the prize, you know.
Kevin, if you hear us, okay. And we're only 40 minutes in. So maybe we could watch another clip from the show that you're presenting to Series Mania after the party. We're going to see the trailer, and then we can talk about it.
Sure.
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 Grace, I've just seen your father. Did you know he was coming back?
Can't believe he just rocked up after, like, what, 4 years?
5.
Listen, I know this is tough for you.
Mum, he can come back if he wants to. It's got nothing to do with you.
He can't live here. This is the family home.
He's my dad.
So just like Laurence Herzberg said before, and you always listen to what Laurence says, you have to go watch this show. It's really amazing, and your role is really complicated to carry, I think, watching it, because he is very ambiguous. He's nice enough. He's ambiguous enough. He questions us as viewer. We're like, I want to believe the woman because this is how it should be done, but he's so nice. I like him so much. It questions us. It questions the morals. And watching it, I was wondering if this is something you're looking for in a role, to make us viewer not know what the hell we're watching and who we like and who we don't like and who we believe.
Well, the history behind that show was Robin and I are very close, and Robin, I was involved in creating the show, not creating the show, sorry. She would run some ideas past me and things. So when she asked if I would play this guy, it was a no-brainer because I knew kind of where this guy was coming from. And again, and I'm not being kind of falsely modest, but again, it goes back to the structure and the script and the direction and who you're working with. Because the only way you can play a guy like this guy's been suspected of being a paedophile. The only way you can play it is this guy believes what he's doing is not wrong. He knows it's not quite right, but he doesn't feel it's wrong. And the only way you can play that is, I think, is you have to think as he sees it. And it's the context that he works in that is doing all the work for you. Because what a lot of actors will do, well, first of all, they'll not touch a part like this because they see it as career death. And that's fair enough. I understand that. Personally, I don't care. But they, quite rightly, a lot of actors do. So they'll not play a part like this. But also what they will do is they will tell you this is not me. So when you're asked to play a monster, if you don't want people ever to think that you're ever capable of that, you want to let them know. So you give every indication. And you can do it subtly or you can do it not so subtly. You want the audience to know, by the way, this isn't me. This isn't Peter, the actor. I could never do such a thing. This is the character. So you immediately, you create a prejudice. And again, that's a perfectly legitimate choice. But if you're really going to approach a piece like this, then you, the actor, you have to play it as if someone, and with all the facets to their personality, even if you find it morally, as I do, as we all would, it's morally repulsive. But you, the actor, your duty is, personally, I've never played a character in my life and asked to be liked. Because to be liked is the death of art, as far as I'm concerned. If you like someone, good. If you don't like them, it's fine. For me, it's about understanding people. So as an actor, it's to present to other people someone to be understood. It's not someone to be liked and loved and to give prizes to. It's not that. It really, if it is that, then for me, that's morally reprehensible. But in terms of actually physically playing someone like that, it's not difficult because you move with it. The scenes, I'm going to be careful in terms of spoilers for the show, but the scenes, there were certain scenes that I found really hard to do. Because, you're having to do stuff which, it's a game, it's play. But you're still having to go into territory that's unpleasant. I mean, I've killed so many people, and the great thing in the game of acting is you kill someone and they jump up and they go, you killed me really well. And you say, and you died really well. It's a game. It's just a game. Nobody's hurt. And one of the great joys of acting is you get to do things with impunity. You're not hurting anyone. It's a game. It's play. And I've no time for actors that try to make another actor feel uncomfortable because they're going to be doing a scene where it requires they make someone feel uncomfortable. That's just someone using acting as an excuse to be an abuser. That's all that is. They'll claim they're just being method, and it's bollocks. They're just using an excuse to be unpleasant. Because and apart from anything, it doesn't work. All acting is based on trust. So if you're having to be abusive to someone in the game, they've got to trust you that you don't mean it. And then they'll act abused. If they think you are genuinely making their life miserable, they'll resist that. And the only thing that makes anybody look powerful on screen is someone making them look powerful. It's back to the king. Nobody can act like a king. It's other people around them that make them look like a king. It's people bowing to someone and you go, oh, that's the king. It's not someone walking, it doesn't work. It's all about context. So when you're having to do a scene, as I have to in this show, where we got, quite rightly, we had intimacy coaches, and you're having to bring in adult actors to look like young boys, they're not the days you look forward to, that's for sure. Now you can still get to know your young actor, and we had a laugh, and we have very, very dark humour gets you through these things. But I mean, I've done scenes when you have to rape women and stuff, and it's horrific. But it's game, it's play. It's not as horrific as actually someone going through something like that. But it's, again, in the game of acting, everybody's involved in it. Director, boom op, a camera operator, a DOP, script supervisor. Everybody is part of the game. And everybody's responsibility is to try and make the game safe. And weirdly, the safer you make it, the more dangerous you can become. The more you can push it. Like I've been lucky enough to work with actors that because we've established trust, I can be really unpleasant to them. I mean, deeply, deeply unpleasant. Because it's just game. But I've been around actors who have tried to bring it onto the makeup bus or to try and bring unpleasantness on set. And nothing happens. Nothing happens. Because everybody's just ill at ease. But that particular actor feels like they're a big shot. Doesn't work.
Solidarity.
Yeah.
After the party, Panorama International. Je crois que vous pouvez l'avoir ce soir.
After the party in the International Panorama, you can see it this evening and tomorrow.
But I don't have that much time, and I'm hesitating between two movies, so you're going to pick the movie and you'll see the question that comes along.
Okay.
So either we go to Magdalene Sisters or we go to Ned's.
Go Magdalene Sisters.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Alors, on va regarder le clip de Magdalene Sisters, s'il vous plaît. There is a lot to study in this one scene, so imagine in the whole movie. And there are many things I would like to talk about, but I will pick one. And it goes back to something you talked about quickly before, which is how you decided as a director to balance the screams and the noise and then the silence until this final amazing shot where everything is in the eyes and nothing is in the dialogue. So how did you build on the sound that scene?
Yeah, the sound, and again, it's you. I kind of go instinctive on these kind of things because you're in a cutting room, and you cut the scene together, and it's got the kind of impact, and it was a difficult decision whether to go to end that section on Geraldine's Nun. And the reason it was difficult was, did it look like we were letting her off the hook? Were we, like my brother who cast the film, he hates that shot. Absolutely hates it. Because he says, you're making us sympathetic towards her. And she's a bitch, you know. And I get it. And I disagree, but I get where he's coming from. He feels that shot makes us sympathize with her dilemma, or if you like, her humanity. And it's tricky. It's really tricky. We tried it without that shot, and then I didn't like it without it. One of the trickiest parts was the section when she runs down the corridor screaming. We cut that bit out, so we went from upstairs to the silence. We used the sound, and it really worked. It was someone watched it and said, "Have you thought about cutting that shot?" And it worked. It really worked. But then I felt something wasn't right, and I said to my editor, "We need to watch the whole film again," and we'd already watched that 1,000 times because it does work. In and of itself, but does it work for the film? And it didn't. It was weird. It was 9 seconds of film, but by taking it out, we changed the ending. The ending of the film, I don't know if you know the film, but the film ends with that character, and the ending didn't work. But anyway, the point being that literally those shots, and it goes back to acting's the sex and directing's bringing up baby, because I can remember cutting it and shooting it. You could show me any acting, I wouldn't have a clue. It's gone. It's like, fine. I have no memory of whole chunks of acting. But when you direct something, there's, I think, and I've asked other directors about it, there's more than an element of PTSD. Because most directors will tell you they remember every single shot. And they know what bit they couldn't shoot, they know what bit they didn't like, they know what bits they did like. I think the level of trauma when you're directing, it's a lo-fi kind of trauma. And that's why you'll get brilliant films like Gary Oldman's Nil by Mouth and a whole host of other actors, Charles Laughton. They only ever make one film. Because compared to acting, it's really traumatic. Because every day you're getting punched from some direction or other. So watching that there, it's fascinating that one remembers the choices that you had and why you chose to do it. Like, to go back to the sound element, within the Magdalene laundries, they were never allowed to speak to one another. So, and I visit, my mum worked in one of those places, so I remember it as a child. It wasn't a Magdalene laundry, it was for orphans. But I remember as a kid how clean it was and how quiet it was, but not quiet in a peaceful way. I couldn't articulate it as a child, but it felt lonely. It didn't feel, oh my God, one day I'd love to be part of this silence. It just felt crushingly empty and lonely. Mm. Yeah, you can go very deep.
You went, so I'm just following your lead. Let's say that. On va aller, je suis désolée, à la région, on va aller dans le désordre complètement et on va aller à la capture d'écran, mais quand j'aurai fini ma question, tout à la fin, c'est 2 captures d'écran les unes au-dessus des autres, il y en a 4 qui forment une sorte de carré. When I follow a director's work, I always try to find patterns or signs of obsessions, stuff like that. So I wanted to show you screenshots from Ned's and Magdalene sisters, and it's 2 scenes that follow each other, and to me that say something about you. Okay, let's go. Let's go, too late. So here they are. So you start with violence, and then you have a child shutting his ears, yes. And they both follow each other in both movies, so I felt like it meant something.
No?
You're sure?
I mean, I'm sure it does. If you put me on the psychiatrist's chair, no, because they're both. I mean, in context, that's the on top left-hand corner. She's being assaulted by her cousin, and the little one, she's covering her ears because she knows her father's going to get violent. I mean, I guess, yeah, and the little one's covering his. I mean, I just picked him up because it looked really cool. I mean,
you do have kids telling the viewers something wrong is happening, and it comes from kids.
Yeah, and that's the opening scene of Magdalene. And I was asking my DP just to find images from the crowd, and this poor wee lad couldn't take the noise, and it looked good. No, I wish I could say something more profound, but no.
Okay.
No. Show me something else so it's cool. I like this game.
I need to make you choose between questions because we have 15 minutes left. So
right, cool.
Either we talk about why people pick you for roles and why sometimes you find similarities from a viewer point of view watching the roles, or we can go to romantic comedy, which is rare in your career, but there is one. Or we can go to fantasy. You pick. I know. You pick.
Because I can't remember it, do the romantic comedy one.
Okay. A bit of lightness.
When have I done romantic comedy?
You did a TV show called Mom.
Ah!
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I was lost doing that. Yeah.
That was a fantastic show.
It's lovely.
Let's watch a small clip. C'est le clip numéro 6 de Mom, s'il vous plaît.
Hello.
Hey.
You all right?
Yeah, should have won another layer, but I was in the car, so... don't know why I'm going on about it. So, you all set for today?
Yeah. Got up early, started to clear out the cupboards.
Oh, no, hold it. Stop right there.
Why?
Oh, I think I need a moment to digest just how exciting your life is.
Oh, it's tragic. Become the kind of person you pity.
Oh, I've always pitied you.
Thanks.
So you were surprised you were in a romantic comedy. Why
Yeah.
so few?
I never get offered them. Maybe that's why. Honestly, we had a great time doing that show. We did 3 series, and I spent the whole time. Everybody else got to be really funny. I never got to do nothing. And I just spent the whole time looking. There's a Scots word, glaikit, which means basically kind of. I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing during that whole shoot. I loved it. It was great fun. But I honestly didn't have a clue. I get BAFTA nominated for that shit. Honestly, I was just desperate.
You are so cool.
That's acting. That's acting. That is.
You're a great actor.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't have a clue. I kept waiting for the script when I got to cut her head off. You know, or we find my mum dead in the back of the car or something like that. You know, seriously, I had a great time doing it. The cast were just beautiful, but no, utterly clueless. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Nope. I picked a wrong category. Right, do the fantasy. Show me the fantasy one.
Sure. So it's going to be Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power,
God.
of course. This show is...
What's the nose on this one? The nose.
we're going to watch the nose on this screen.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yes. This show is directed by Charlotte Brandstrom, who belongs to one of the juries here this year. And I have a very... my question, which is, do you work with more female director years passing by, or is it still rare?
More, which is brilliant. The first female director I worked with would have been, oh my God, who was it? Early on was Jane Campion.
Top of the Lake?
Yeah, and she's probably the best known. But yeah, more and more I've worked with women directors. And Lord of the Rings now, they only use women directors, which is brilliant. It's becoming more and more common, which is great to see. And I mean, film generally is changing that way. There's much more women on set. There's still not enough women in the technical side, in terms of the male. The male still dominate the sparks, the lights, the camera, but like women still very much makeup, costume. You know, there's not enough in the heavier side of a film set, but that too, that's changing too, and women directors oftentimes there's good and there's bad, but the ones I've worked with have been really good. They don't have the same ego issues as some of the guys do. But I've been lucky. I've not worked with many bad directors. I've been really lucky. They've always been very nice.
Oh, they can still come.
Was what?
The bad directors can still come.
Oh, aye. Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's watch the clip then.
Oh, yeah.
Le clip numéro 7, Lord of the Rings, s'il vous plaît.
Yeah.
Merci.
Show me the nose.
How do you expect me to move mountains, Father, if you fall to pieces when I dig a single hole? You speak of greatness for me, but you suffocate in me any ambition, any desire, any thought that does not originate in you.
The iron that must bear the most heavy of burdens must also endure the most rigorous tempering.
Consigning your allies to death is not tempering.
We showed that to the Emmy voters in Los Angeles, and afterwards they had this ridiculously serious discussion about Lord of the Rings, and I suggested that the nose should get an Emmy nomination. And I swear 3 people came up to me and said, Peter, the nose? Like, they honestly thought you could get a nomination for a nose. I think you should. Best nose. You're up at 3 a.m. to get that thing put on.
Yeah.
Brutal, man. Brutal.
So in that case, to talk about what you said earlier, the acting comes from the eyes and the voice.
Oh, man, the eyes and the nose. It's funny, those kind of shows, they've got all the money in the world, and yet it all comes down to, Daddy, love me, I'll try, son. I mean, it all boils down to very, very simple things that people take ridiculously seriously. You know, because, I mean, that's just a daddy-son scene. It's nice. I mean, Owen's a beautiful actor who plays my son. But, you know, it's not Chekhov. It's not, you know, it's not Shakespeare. But the people, when you do question, you know, they do these comedy things. What do you call it? Comic Con. They do. I've never done one, but I've got mates that have done it, and they take these things really seriously. They're a weird bunch, the Ring mob.
Okay, so no Comic Con for you.
Yeah, come on, ask me something profound about Lord of the Rings. Go on. Try being deep with that shit. Oh,
sure.
I never said
no
that.
No problem. Well, actually, if I can be the advocate for the fans.
Go for it.
I believe that Lord of the Rings saved many lives of teenagers having no friends but books for a long time, which brings me to a profound question.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Do you think art can save lives?
Yeah.
How?
Definitely. I think it offers food for the soul when you feel there isn't any. I think when, you know, I walk into an art gallery, and I did it as a kid. I couldn't necessarily articulate it when I was wee, but it gave me something. Movies gave me so much. Theatre, poetry, music. Yeah, I think it does. I think it's huge. I taught for a long time when I left university. I taught at the university, and then I taught, I was a peripatetic drama worker. So I taught in prisons a lot, and I taught in institutions for the criminally insane, I guess you would call them, and I worked with groups who couldn't speak, groups that couldn't move. So there was all sorts of challenges came your way about what use is drama, what use is acting to these groups. And I was always blown away by how much you could do. Not in a professional sense, not, you know, people becoming theatre stars or movie stars, but in terms of people's actual lives, drama can have such an impact, because in terms of confidence, in terms of, I mean, I worked a lot with Augusta Boal, Theatre of the Oppressed, and Boal regularly wandered around South America, radicalizing whole communities through drama. So they would rehearse how they would approach the powers that be. And his methodology of working, which didn't use language, it used the body, it used tableau, was very down to earth. Like what you'll find when you teach in disadvantaged communities, language is a big issue. They don't feel comfortable with a script. They don't feel comfortable feeling theatrical. So when you take language out of it and it becomes tableau, then that's something that even the most nervous kid will relate to because they've seen it. And I don't mean because they've seen silent movies. It's because they most of us think pictorially. Language came long after we were drawing on the sides of the caves, as it were. And you really find that, and I don't get to teach as much as I used to, but the last time I was doing any classes and stuff, I'll still use a lot of his techniques because people can through visually enacting their oppressive circumstance, they can articulate it visually, and language will follow, and from that they can address the powerful and the institutions. So on a purely practical level, drama obviously is the art form that I know more than the others. It can have such an impact on people's lives. Huge.
Let me check the time. Do you feel ready for an answer that stands in 1 minute if I have one more question and then it's the audience turn?
Go for it.
Okay, because you talked about painting, visuals, tableau.
Painting, visuals.
I need to show you something. Let me find the number. Where is it? Tick, tick. Where the fuck is it? Oh, ok. Alors, est-ce que vous avez en haut un autre slide avec des captures d'écran où il y a plein de personnages? Il y a 2 captures côte à côte.
Any other screenshots?
Ah, merci.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Great guys
Because
up there.
I picked those screenshots. I thought I wouldn't have time to show them, but we're going to show them. Maybe. Yes. So, that's composition of a frame from Orphans and from Ned's, and to me, these are paintings.
Yes.
To me, they say so much about the characters and no words I needed. Yeah. How did you compose? Pick one of them. How did you compose them? What do you see in them?
Ned's, basically, as you say, the compositions. I would never say to the actors, stand there, do this. I would never do that. Again, you create an environment where your actors feel that they can assemble, and then all you've got to do is tell a cameraman to light it really well, make it look good, and that's it, really. But yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. I'd be lying if I said there was any specific artist that I was inspired by for that. But yeah, I like nice compositions. Not nice, that's the wrong word. I like compositions that feel, to me, cinematic. You know, rather than just. I like wides and extreme close-ups. Those are my 2 kind of favorite shots as a director.
I love your compositions. They are very beautiful. Anyway, it's not my turn anymore. The audience is going to ask questions. If they ask in French, you have this that gives you a translation.
Is this my...
It's yours. It looks like a Star Trek thing.
This turns French into Scottish.
Ça veut dire que vous pouvez poser des questions en français si vous ne vous sentez pas à l'aise en anglais. Il faut lever la main et il y a des gens dans la salle qui vont vous passer des micros. Levez la
Kingdom for a boat.
On voit que dalle. Ben, vraiment rien, là. Ici, en violet, en bas, ici au premier rang. Ouais. Ah, quelqu'un arrive. Hold on.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Can you hear me? Yes, it is. We haven't been speaking, that's all. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 1, 2.
I will translate.
No. Can you hear me? Oh.
Yeah, technology's not working yet.
Yes, it is. It's working fine.
So much for the French translator.
Put it back.
Okay.
Bonsoir, Peter.
Bonsoir.
Alors moi, je viens en tant que fan de Harry Potter.
I'm a Harry Potter fan.
Harry Potter. You like Harry Potter.
En fait, moi, je suis plutôt fan des méchants, entre guillemets.
I'm a fan of the villains. You see?
Je voulais savoir comment on rentre dans un rôle
How do you
de méchant, justement. C'est une question que
take on the role of a villain? A question I could put to you, also to Lucius, Jason,
Comment est-ce qu'on
the son.
pour jouer un rôle comme ça?
How do you prepare for the role of a villain? people who are really obnoxious.
Au gentil Harry Potter.
Okay. So the question is, how do you get ready to play such mean characters, mean roles?
In Harry Potter, it was they gave you the blonde wig, and this little guy arrived, and I was on set, and this is God's truth, that there was these big black doors, and I'd never been on the set. And oh, sorry, do you want to translate, or is that you getting translation? Oh, cool. And these big black doors opened, and a guy in a long coat came out, and he walked towards me, and I'd never been on it's a Harry Potter set. It's big, huge, big thing. And my kids were so pleased. I did it so my kids could come on set. I didn't give a shit about Harry Potter, but my kids could be on set. And this guy walked towards me in this big, flowing coat, and he arrived, and he said, "Mr. Mullen?" And I went, "Yes." And he said, "I suppose you'd like your wand." And I said, "I would like my wand." And he literally, this guy, he took out the wand, and he handed it to me. And I held it, and he literally went, he just fucked off. And I was kind of going, did I not get wand lessons, or? Because I thought in Harry Potter they showed you, I don't know, how you use the wand in a Harry Potter kind of way. And there's nothing. They just give you the wand. This piece of shit, you just get this. And the director came in, and I said, "Are you going to give me a wand lesson?" And he went, "Wand lesson?" And I said, "I thought there's wand lessons. Everybody, Jesus." But in Harry Potter, I'm not telling anybody. Just give me the fucking wand thing. And he said, "I like the way you're holding it." And I was holding it as if I was in the gangs and I had a knife. And I said, "I can't hold a wand like that." And he went, "But I like it like that." I said, "But I don't want to be a Glasgow fucking thug. I'm trying to be Harry Potter. I'm trying to be fucking Harry Potter." And he was like, "No, hold on." So if you watch the film, I walk around like, I can't. I'm the least Harry Potter villain there is, with my blonde hair. But my kids did get to meet Daniel, which is all I wanted.
Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Next question. Est-ce que quelqu'un a un micro dans la main? Oui, là. Peter. Sorry. Here.
Oh, sorry. Do you mean I just saw a hand wave and I was like that? Okay.
No, over there.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
So what is the difference between a big budget film and a small budget film? Well, obviously the size, but are there main differences?
The amazing thing that never ceases to amaze me is there's no difference. There is literally no difference. I mean, they've got more money to waste, more money to burn. But I swear, it always amazes me. It's like, wow, it all boils down to sticky tape and pretend. Like, we had a $5 million horse on Braveheart. This thing was so handsome, and he was like really full of himself. This fucking black stallion. I mean, he was gorgeous, and everybody told us he's insured for £5 million. So we were like, wow. So in the scene, one of the bad guys had to come in, and Mel had to chop his head off as he went by. So the horse, the $5 million horse, couldn't hit the mark. Because he's too big for that. You know what I mean? Drama school and all that, he just couldn't hit the mark. And Gibson was going nuts. He's like, Why are we getting this $5 million horse and he can't hit the mark? And I remember stood there thinking, wow, so what do big budget cinema do with this issue? This, like all filmmaking to a greater or lesser extent, is problem solving. And I'll tell you exactly what happened, and it's in the film. They got a stunt man, and they put the actor on the stunt man's shoulder, and they gave the stunt man some horse's mane, and the stunt man went, God's truth, and the actor's going, you know, and we're off camera fucking pissing ourselves because this poor guy's going, you know, we will kill the Scots, and there's a stunt man going, meh, meh. $80 million movie, and that's what it comes down to. War Horse, exactly the same. Steven Spielberg. End of the day, Steven, like every other director, Steven, after having spoke to you about the character, and end of the day, Steven says, Peter, look there, look sad, look happy, over there. That's how it works, is they only had 20 minutes to shoot it. You know, so there is no difference, I swear, except the money to burn. Yeah.
Over there, on your left.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Merci. Ma question, c'est...
I have a question regarding Magdalena Sisters. You're the scriptwriter and also the director. When you wrote the script, did you already have some of the shots in your head? And when you were on the set, did you come across any surprises and so on?
You wrote and directed Magdalena Sisters, but when you wrote it, did you already have all the images in your mind? Did you know what it was going to look like? Or so when you arrived on the set, did you know exactly what to do, or did you have any surprises and changes?
It was, yeah, I pretty much knew what it would look like. I knew it should be very sterile, very clean, and very, I guess, classical. It would be composed. There wouldn't be much on the shoulder loose. It would be about the relationship on screen between the different characters. I knew it would be quite an old-fashioned film because I knew the structure would be akin to a kind of prison movie. And I kind of wanted that because I wanted to reach as big an audience as I could. That was from the get-go. It was quite calculated on my part that it would be quite classically shot and with deep browns and deep darks and very much inspired by the kind of lightened states of The Godfather and those early 70s films. But more than anything, it was to feel that an audience felt they could sit through it. Because quite rightly, you could make a completely different film to the Magdalene Sisters on the same subject. And you'd be quite right to, as in it could be unbearable. And I wouldn't have an issue with that, personally. But I decided at the time I wanted to reach as wide an audience as I could, and I wanted to make it palatable, which is, in the long run, I think makes it not the great film that it could have been, but that I can live with that. It wasn't about that for me. It was about the politics. I wanted those women to get the apology, and I wanted compensation. And in order to get that, I wanted it to be classical.
Est-ce que ce sera la dernière question? Elle a intérêt d'être géniale.
Last question has to be brilliant.
What kind of roles you wish you had played and those that you would be interested in playing? I
don't have any sort of wish list for for characters. My kids get very upset because they've found out recently the films that I said no to because I wanted to be with them. Like, they've never forgiven me for not doing Pirates of the Caribbean. We could have met Johnny Depp. We could have called him Uncle Johnny. You know, because I said no to Pirates, and I said no to Billy Elliot, said no to Sexy Beast. I mean, there was a whole host, and I've never regretted any of them. I'd said yes to The Departed with my pal Marty, but they changed the schedule, and it meant me being away from the kids for too long. So I pulled out of it, and they gave it to Martin Sheen. And the only regret I've got is I had a big toe-to-toe scene with Jack Nicholson, which I would have... the only reason I signed up for it was to do that scene with the man, and I couldn't because I'd been away from the kids for too long. But no, I don't have... There's no part that, you know, you do get those actors. I must do my Macbeth. You know, these days I get offered King Lear and Samuel Beckett a lot because I'm old.
So we have 2 more minutes and 1 question, and 30 people raising hands. So does anyone have a mic? Oh, you have a mic already?
Sure.
Okay. Upstairs, can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see me, right?
I can see it.
Okay. I'm coming back with a question about Magdalene Sisters because, well, I was really moved by this movie. And I wanted to know, how did you get to the topic at a time when the topic was not in the light? And because you're a committed artist, and I get this movie give women to be talked about. You see what I mean? The story get the women into the light, and it helped, I guess, to get to the situation when now we have some things about it. We have in Ireland great creations about Magdalene laundries and great art about it. So
that was what's really fascinating, I think, about the Magdalene is that there was a documentary made, and I was in the kitchen at home, and I heard a woman say they locked me up for being too pretty, and that's what caught my attention. And I watched the documentary, and the next day I wrote a structure for a possible film. And so on, you know, we managed to get the money and we managed to make the film. And then as a result of making the film, there was a young lad got together with survivors of the Magdalenes, and they started a movement, and the movement eventually led to them being given a full apology in the Irish Parliament. They were then given a complete investigation, which, to be honest, was a bit of a whitewash, but they got the apology, and as far as I'm aware, most of them were given some form of financial compensation. So what I love about that is that you've got documentary, fictional film, and a movement. So all three together had a major impact. Not Magdalene Sisters, the fictional film, not the documentary, and not the movement, but all three combined. And that I'd love to see more of that. Now, obviously, you can't prescribe that kind of thing. But years later, well, after Magdalene was made, we did because it was before social media, so there was a big thing in the Lincoln Center in New York. There was a question and answer session, and the lovely person that was interviewing me said, "Can I just ask, has anybody here got any experience of the Magdalene laundries?" And all these hands went up. And I was quite surprised because I thought, oh my God, but then New York's got a big Irish population. But to my complete amazement there was a lady from Rio de Janeiro, there was one from Warsaw, There was one from Los Angeles. I mean, they were from all over the world, and I genuinely didn't know that there were Magdalene laundries worldwide. I didn't know that, because there was we couldn't get anything from the Catholic Church. They wouldn't give us any information. Why would they? You know, it's a secret organization. I mean, I was brought up Catholic. So you couldn't get the information. And then years later, I got a call from a paper back home. A lady had seen the Magdalene Sisters, the fictional film, and she spoke to her daughter, who in turn phoned a radio station. The radio station had a question and answer with the lady. 13 other women got in touch, and that grew into a movement, I think, of about 29, 30 different women who'd been in Magdalene laundries in Germany, and I had no idea there were Magdalene. Anyway, I got the call because the government had just given them 235 million compensation, which to me was a huge amount of money, and but more importantly for the women was validation. And it never occurred to me that when we made the film, I thought it was a retrospective, give justice. It never occurred to me that it would be the spark, if you like, for women to come forward. I had no idea there were so many women, and I had no idea so many of them were holding on to it for their whole lives. So the Magdalene experience, I think, is for me extraordinary because it's a combination of documentary, fiction, and real political campaign. For me, that's the part that excites me more than anything else about that. Time to go.
Before we leave, we needed information. How many swear words today? How many? 21. Let's say we missed a few, 30. Peter Milan.